We are here at the Black Footwear Forum in Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
And I'm here with the legendary, the incomparable, Miss Brittney Perry.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Had the pleasure of meeting you last year.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot that happened between last year and this year. So talk about it a little bit. Where you been?
I've been busy, definitely a transitional year for me because I moved from Chicago to Los Angeles. I released a new sneaker.
It's not just sneakers for you, though. It's a
not.
full lifestyle brand.
It is. I wanted to do something different with my newest release. It was more like a capsule. The sneaker that I released, the jackets match the sneakers, the colorways. And on the back of the jacket, it has the breaking barriers, the California flag, and the Chicago Bear, just to show that kind of transition from Chicago to LA.
I love that.
So it's a story,
We'll segue into that because I feel like a common theme throughout this conference and the conversations that are happening within, whether it's on stage or outside, are the importance of storytelling when it comes to product.
Yeah.
And how if you don't have that story, how sometimes, a lot of times, it does not hit with your audience. I definitely want to touch on that. But before we do,
okay,
in terms of the general scope of things and why we're here this weekend, we know that the theme of this particular BFF is the importance of cultural currency, and that being a focal point of driving industry. I certainly exist in that space as a bridge between industry and culture. You as well, being of and representing that culture and industry. What does cultural currency mean to you?
it means a lot, especially right now. We're kind of post-COVID now, right? So I think now more than ever, cultural currency is up there. Culture to me means community. I think one thing that I've learned being in the industry is that gatekeeping is a thing.
Sad but true.
Gatekeeping is a thing.
It's a thing, but I think for culture to thrive, it's really about creating a community, sharing resources, and being there for each other. So if there's somebody that needs something from me, especially if they're a person of color, especially in this industry where it's already limited resources, there's not a lot of us, any way I can help the next person, even though I'm not where I want to be, it's really about sharing information and knowledge and creating a community for each other.
You hit the nail on the head because a lot of us aren't where we would like to be, but we also at the same time feel such a need to pull people with us as we figure this out, and how valuable that is to the next person. How you leave the door that you open for the next person, that matters.
Oh, yeah.
So whether it's cracked or whether you kick that door wide open, it's like the next person got to walk through that door.
Yeah.
So it's even more beneficial when they don't have to walk through that door alone.
Exactly, because I felt like at times I felt alone. So anybody that always comes to me for help or suggestions, I always try to lend a hand because I've been on the other side where I didn't know what to do. So if I'm reaching out for help, I'm like, people are ignoring me. So I just don't want to do that to the next person. Any way I can help anybody and I know what I'm doing, then I'll help any way I can.
So in that light, because I do have a lot of people who see what I'm doing, I have different segments of audience.
Okay.
One of those major audience are footwear designers who are not within a particular corporation. Much like yourself, they're trying to figure out their own way and do their own thing. So for someone who's interested in creating a footwear brand from scratch, what kind of advice, what kind of insight would you give to that process? Even just that thought process of starting something from scratch.
Obviously, first do your research. I think the first thing that anybody should do with anything is, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Look at the competition. Who else is doing what you're doing? Are you creating something new, or are you copying what's already been done? It's saturated, right? There's a lot of everything, but there's only one of you. So the key there is also the storytelling piece. It kind of ties into your why you're doing what you're doing. Or if there's a need, what is the need for the sneaker or whatever you're producing? That's the next thing. But definitely just doing your market research and just, I think, getting help early on. Like, you don't have to do everything yourself. If you need help with something, reach out to people, build your team early. But I would definitely get a mentor. I think that's probably another key, is to get a mentor. It doesn't have to be somebody in the industry, but maybe somebody with a little more business experience that can guide you on making your business plan. figuring, okay, is this online only or is it, what do you want to do with the business? All your social media. It's a lot that goes into building the brand outside of just having the actual physical product.
We do have people that want to start their own thing and like, well, I need a base, right? I need a point of reference. As we know, from a design perspective, there's a fine line between inspiration and just plain plagiarism.
Yeah.
For those who may be inspired to bite particular models, we won't say names of said models or any of their replicas.
Okay.
But how important is it in the market? Because you not only have the market research that you did prior to starting a brand, you now have the market research of actually selling your product. And I'm sure the people that appreciate the originality of your designs.
Yes.
How important is that when it comes to making your own?
I mean, it's very important because, first of all, do you want to be possibly sued for stealing someone else's design? That's the first thing. Do you have the money, if you were to get sued, to hire a legal team to fight those battles? But I think one thing that a person should think about is 5 years from now, where do you want to be with your brand? I think a lot of people are just trying to do a fast cash grab, like just trying to create something like, oh, this will sell. But when I went into the process, I was kind of thinking long term of I want something that's going to withstand the test of time. Like even 5 years from now, you can still wear the shoe. It's not like a trendy type shoe, you know what I'm saying? So I say it depends on what their intentions are. Like maybe you want to do just a quick cash grab, but if you're really trying to be a long-standing brand, you definitely have to be original. It's not to say that you can't use other shoes as inspiration, because I think everyone does. Even I do. And my shoes, like Air Force Ones and other shoes, inspire me. But I'm not going to sit here and literally change a little bit and call myself a designer. You know what I'm saying? I'm indifferent on it because everybody expresses themselves differently. And not to say that that's not art, but just think long term, like who your customers are that are going to buy this and where do you want your brand to be 5 to 10 years from now, if you want to be that.
If you want to be here 5 to 10, because you're right. Some people are just like, I see the trend. I want to capitalize on the trend. I'm here to hustle.
I understand. Sometimes that could be like a stepping stone into making your own thing. You just want to see like, oh, I just want to see if people would actually buy it. Or like, if I could produce something, like what types of colorways I could do, and then just use that as a stepping stone and that money to make my own thing. If that's your intention, I'm not going to be mad at you for that. You do what you got to do. But long term, it's not going to last.
Different time we live in. Well, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for this brief conversation. If you ever find yourself in LA, or even if you're on the internet, holla at PerrycoShoes.com.
Yes, PerrycoShoes.com or Perryco Shoes on Instagram.
You heard it here first.